Hello students, it's Mrs. Tomasevich. This video is going to tell you more about using the eWISE research process. A quick recap. eWISE is a series of steps to follow when doing research. All students in Witt County schools have begun using eWISE. The steps in the process are evaluate, and this is something you'll do in every step, wonder, investigate, synthesize, and express. But today, let's talk about wonder. Have you ever noticed how many questions little kids ask? Things like, why is the sky blue? Do fish sleep at night? Why do people blink? But students your age tend to ask fewer questions. If you wonder why that is, Richard Saul Wurman, creator of TED Conferences, says, in schools, we're rewarded for having the answer, not for asking a good question. Teens may also be afraid of looking stupid if they ask too many questions. For whatever reason, as students go from elementary to middle school, they stop asking so many questions. Mr. Wurman has also said that our ignorance is our greatest asset. What he means is that our curiosity is what drives us to learn. If you're watching this, you've probably been given the task of choosing a topic to research and coming up with a good essential question. This involves a lot more critical thinking than old-fashioned research projects, where you just looked things up and wrote down facts. You can start by brainstorming topics. Make a list of every idea you can think of. Flip back through your notes from class to get topic ideas. Think about what you already know about the general topic and what you still want to know. Whatever you choose, make sure it's something you're interested in. For example, if you have to do a project on World War II and you like to go sailing, you might want to learn more about the boats that were used in the war. If you have to do a report on another country and you're a foodie, choose a country that you really like foods from. Pick something you wonder about. And if your teacher is letting you choose any topic you want, you don't know how lucky you are. Now that you've brainstormed a topic, you need to develop an essential question. An essential question will drive your research. You'll be surprised at how much more focused your research will be if you have a good essential question. What is an essential question? It's a broad-thinking question that has no right or wrong answer. It's open-ended to make you think deeply and should lead to further questions. Answers to essential questions can't be found, they must be invented. To answer an essential question, you have to locate a variety of information, organize and synthesize all that information, and come up with your own findings, and it may be your own opinion. Writing good questions can be hard. So, how do you write a good essential question? Your question should inspire critical thinking rather than just fact-finding. Good essential questions often start with phrases like, how does something impact something? What if? Should? Or why? Take a look at these examples. How does a teen's family life impact whether or not he joins a gang? That's our what does something impact something sort of question. The what if question could be something like, what would the ocean be like if there were no sharks? Should humans be cloned? Or why is art necessary? Never write an essential question that can be answered with a yes or no. And you shouldn't write one that can be easily answered by looking up quick facts on the internet. These kinds of questions take research and thinking. Now look at some of these examples of not so good questions and how to improve them. How do I learn to play basketball? That's too easily answered. You could look in a book or on a website and find the answer to that question in just minutes. A good essential question that had something to do with basketball could be something like this. In what ways would learning to play basketball benefit me? Another not so good example, why is child abuse bad? We all know it's bad, and you could easily find information about what it does to children that impacts their lives. But a more interesting essential question could be something like, what effect does child abuse have on those people when they become adults? Here's another one. How are cell phones made? You could look that up in no time, but there's a couple of essential questions that deal with cell phones that would be good ones. something like this: how have cell phones impacted our culture? Or even, should teens have cell phones? After you develop your essential question, it's time to break it down into smaller parts, so you know exactly what you need to research. Let's say you wrote the essential question, how have cell phones impacted our culture? You could brainstorm 3 smaller focus questions you'd have to have the answers to before you could answer your big question. Cell phones have really affected the way we interact with people, so one of your questions could be, how have cell phones changed the way we interact socially? A second focus question could be, how have cell phones affected our health? And a third focus question might be, how have cell phones changed the way we do business? There's lots of different possibilities, and you could come up with 3 focus questions that were totally different but still might answer that big essential question. After that, you break your focus questions down into information questions. These are the things you'll go and do research on, gathering facts and statistics. So under how have cell phones changed the way we interact socially, you might look for how we interact differently with our friends, different ways that we communicate now, the impact it's had on bullying, and not having any alone time anymore. Under how have cell phones affected our health, some of the facts that you might want to look for could be radiation or cancer given off by cell phones, car accidents from talking on phones or texting and driving, our emotional health, and there's even studies out there that say that using a lot of technology from a really young age has changed the wiring in our brains. Under the how have cell phones changed the way we do business focus question, you might want to try to find out information about people who now can work from their car, how we tend to do things faster, how it's made it more of a global market that you can do business throughout the world, and how using technology for shopping has really hurt the brick and mortar stores. Here's a second example. If your essential question was, in what ways would learning to play basketball benefit me, your first focus question might deal with physical benefits. Your second focus question could look at the mental benefits. And the third focus question might be about benefits later in life. See how the focus and information questions are helping to break that big essential question down into smaller parts that will be easier to find the answers to? So for information questions about physical benefits, you might talk about agility or learning a new skill, possibly losing weight or just improving fitness. Some mental benefits of learning to play basketball could be things like self-discipline, making friends, playing on a team, developing toughness and self-respect, respect for others, and it might be motivation to keep your grades up. Benefits later in life, you might look at playing basketball as a hobby or in college, possibility of getting a scholarship, playing with work friends, or on a rec league later in life. This graphic organizer that you're looking at right now is on the Media Center webpage under the Research tab. Feel free to print it and fill it in to help you develop your own questions. If you still need more help in writing good essential questions, there's a great video on YouTube you could watch, and there's more information on the Mills Park Middle School Media Center webpage. Writing a good essential question is hard even for me, but once you have one, you'll be amazed at how much easier and more interesting your research project will be.